should I full stop here?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to ask you that.
Okay. Yeah, I would rather maybe.
Because you've got to start making your own decisions, right? But why would we put a full stop here?
Because we want to split a sentence, because usually it gets mixed, like plus it's an example, so maybe it'd be smart to.
Okay, so look, I think you're on the right track. Okay, so simply put, okay, what you wrote is what we call a comma splice. Okay,
Okay.
the first independent clause is this can be advantageous for books because they are easily accessible. That's an independent clause. Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
now the second clause, let's say you wanted to learn about the American Civil War. Okay, that is a independent clause as well. The rule here is, and let me emphasize this again, the rule is you may not put a comma to join two independent clauses. This is called a comma splice. All right? You may not do that. It is illegal. It is ilegalno. Okay?
Yep.
Не можешь то.
Okay.
All right. And the difficult thing about this concept is in Croatian, this is acceptable. You can use the comma here, there, everywhere, you know? It's common practice. You know, hey, you know, what do we do? Let's just put a comma there. Yeah. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, punctuation in English is a bit it's a bit specific. Yeah. Well, there are more rules with certain aspects of it. The comma is a very misused thing in punctuation. So, the rule, simply put, you cannot join two independent clauses only by a comma. Now, you can do so by a comma if you put a conjunction after, such as and or so. So let's say, okay, you could do that. I could say literally, this can be advantageous for books because they are easily accessible, comma. So let's say, now I wouldn't do that. I would just put a full stop. Look, we want to make our writing very, very interpretable, intelligible, very easy to read, very concise. We don't want to get too crazy. Okay, let's just keep it simple, right? So full stop here would be great. Okay, now, oh boy, moving on. Let's say you wanted to learn about the American Civil War. Oh boy, here we go again. Bada bing, bada boom. Now,
Right,
mhm.
you know, I don't know, was it for Matura at first or something? When we worked 2 years ago, I think. Or, I don't know if I worked that.
Can you please put the mic closer to your? Thank you very much, sir.
I remember that, for example, not for example, but around 2 years ago.
Okay.
I think we were working for Matura also.
Okay.
We were just preparing. I don't know, but there was a strict number of sentences you can use.
What do you mean?
There was like 3 sentences for intro, 3 for conclusion, and then it was like let's say 6 for first body part and 6 for a second body part, something like that.
Okay.
And there I got the idea of connecting the sentences, because I had to like put the same idea, like put 2 ideas in the same sentence, for example.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
So that's why I'm kind of
just fusing everything with a comma.
Yeah.
Why not, right? Okay. So, however, there are other ways. I've got some good comma practice that we can do about dealing with comma splices, and how to join independent clauses together, because we do have alternatives, okay? Not only with the full stop, but there are the one of the ways I love doing it is with a semicolon. Okay, so here's the very simple explanation. Okay, if we have two independent clauses and they are very closely connected, for example, the second of the two or the latter of the two is more like an extension of the first, you can use a semicolon. Okay, you know what a semicolon is, so you can do that. Okay, to combine two independent clauses together, if they are very closely related, and the latter clause is more or less of an extension of the first. It's a continuance of it. Okay, you can do that. So maybe even in this case, let's say you wanted to learn about the American Civil War, semicolon. It is both easier and cheaper to just open a book and read about it. Okay, you could do that. However, a full stop or a comma is okay if you don't want to get too exotic. So, okay. Also, the great thing about books or learning from books is that they are objectively written. Therefore, we can learn exactly how it was. Now, here is a beautiful example of how we should properly use a semicolon. Now, you will not, your teachers probably don't even know this rule. Well, I don't guarantee you, they might know, but probably not, because most times native speakers and even publishers don't use this very, it's not an esoteric rule, but it's a rule of punctuation. But before, therefore, however, and other other words of this type, we use a semicolon. Use a semicolon before therefore. Okay. Go to therefore and use a semicolon. All right. And then after therefore, use a comma. Now put a space.
Okay. Okay, here. Wait. Wait.
It's okay. All right.
Here.
Yep.
Okay.
Put a space. Yeah, comma space. Yes. This is a beautiful example of how we can use a semicolon with words such as however, therefore, thus. Thus, therefore, however. Okay? Or words of contrast. Okay? Remember this. Okay? You might impress someone, or you might even teach someone something. Because what they would do is they would probably check this and validate it, that this is the proper way we use a semicolon with words like therefore. Okay, we use a semicolon before, then a comma after, and then our main clause. Okay.